Welcome to Tech Tuesdays with Island Tech Services. This week, we will be featuring Teltonika routers. So let's dive right in. Have you ever heard of Teltonika?
I have.
There's this really cool tech company from Europe
Yeah.
that's been around for over 25 years.
What's fascinating is that they're not just some small startup. They've got a global reach with a big presence in the US.
Oh, wow.
Which means they're making waves right here on our home turf.
Okay, so they're not just some fly-by-night operation.
Right.
That's good to know. But what exactly do they do?
Well, they specialize in what's called the Internet of Things, or IoT for short. It's basically all about connecting everyday objects to the internet.
You said they're big on IoT. What kind of products do they make?
Well, they're known for their cellular routers, which are basically like supercharged Wi-Fi hotspots that use cellular networks to provide internet access. But they also make a ton of other cool stuff, like telematics devices for tracking vehicles, telemedicine equipment for remote healthcare, and even smart EV charging stations.
Wow, they're kind of like a one-stop shop for all things IoT. That's impressive. But for this deep dive, we're going to zero in on their cellular routers. Can you tell us a little bit more about why they're so special, especially for industrial applications?
Absolutely. One of the things that sets Teltonika routers apart is their ruggedness and reliability. They're built to withstand harsh environments and operate flawlessly, even in extreme temperatures, vibrations, and humidity.
We're not talking about your average home Wi-Fi router here.
No.
These things are built like tanks.
Exactly. And that's why they're so popular in industrial settings. Think about factories, oil rigs, construction sites, places where a dropped internet connection could mean big trouble.
That makes sense. Reliability is key in those kinds of environments. But what exactly makes these routers so reliable?
Well, for starters, they have this feature called auto failover. It's like having a backup internet connection on standby. If your main connection goes down, the router automatically switches over to the backup, so you're never truly offline.
So no more frantic calls to IT because the internet's down. That's a huge win in my book. But what if both connections go down? Is that even possible?
It's definitely possible, but Teltonika has thought of that too. That's where their dual SIM support comes in. You can have two SIM cards from different carriers installed in the router, so if one network goes down, you've still got another one to fall back on.
Okay, I'm starting to see why they're so popular. It's like they've thought of everything. But I'm curious, are these routers just about basic connectivity? Or is there more to the story?
Oh, there's definitely more to the story. These routers are packed with advanced features that go way beyond just providing internet access.
Do tell. Give us the rundown of the cool stuff.
Well, for example, they have built-in VPN support, which is super important for security, especially when you're dealing with sensitive data in an industrial setting.
VPN. That stands for Virtual Private Network, right?
Exactly. It's basically a secure tunnel that encrypts your internet traffic and makes it much harder for hackers to snoop on your data.
So it's like having a bodyguard for your internet connection. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What other security features do these routers have?
They also have firewalls, which are like virtual walls that protect your network from unauthorized access. And they support something called QoS, which stands for Quality of Service. It lets you prioritize certain types of traffic, like video calls or industrial control signals, so they always have enough bandwidth.
QoS. That sounds handy, especially in a busy industrial environment where you've got a lot of devices competing for bandwidth. But let's move on to something I'm personally really interested in. Location tracking. I hear Teltonika routers are great for that.
They are. Many Teltonika routers have built-in GPS receivers, which means they can track their own location. This is super useful for asset management, fleet tracking, and all sorts of other applications.
So you could use these routers to track anything from a delivery truck to a piece of heavy equipment.
Exactly. You can even set up geofences, which are virtual boundaries that trigger alerts if a device enters or leaves a specific area.
Wow. That's seriously impressive. It's like having a private investigator for all your important stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm still curious about the different types of routers they offer. Can't be one size fits all, right?
Absolutely not. Teltonika has a whole lineup of routers designed for different needs and budgets. They're grouped into three main series: the RUT, the RUTM, and the RUTX.
Okay, so it's like choosing your pizza toppings. You've got your basic crust, and then you can add all sorts of fancy extras, depending on your taste and budget. But let's break it down a bit further. What are the key differences between these series?
The RUT series is their legacy line, using older technology, but still solid performers. They're more affordable and great for basic connectivity. Then you've got the RUTM series, which is functionally similar to the RUTX series, but uses different processor hardware. And finally, there's the RUTX series, their current generation. These are the top-of-the-line models, offering the best performance, the most features, and of course the highest price tag.
Okay, so we've got our good, better, best options. But before we get lost in the router weeds, can you give us some specific examples of standout routers in each series? I'm a details person, so I need some concrete examples to really understand the differences.
Of course. Let's start with the RUT series. One popular model is the RUT241, which is a workhorse router with 4G, Wi-Fi, and dual Ethernet ports. It's perfect for small businesses or remote offices that need a reliable connection without breaking the bank.
Sounds good.
Then there's the RUT956, a dual SIM router that's packed with features like multiple Ethernet ports, Wi-Fi, and even support for GNSS.
GNSS, what's that?
It stands for Global Navigation Satellite System. It's basically a fancy way of saying that this router can use GPS and other satellite systems to figure out its location. That's super useful for tracking vehicles or equipment in the field.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got a workhorse and a tracker. What about the RUTM series? Any speed demons in that lineup?
You bet. We have to talk about the RUTM50. This bad boy is all about speed. We're talking 5G speeds, up to 3.4 Gbps. It's designed for applications that demand high bandwidth and low latency, like video streaming or real-time data transfer.
Whoa, that's blazing fast. I can see why they call it the 50. It's like it's going 50 times faster than anything else out there. Okay, so we've got a workhorse, a tracker, and a speed demon. What about the RUTX series? What kind of top-tier routers are we talking about here?
In the RUTX series, we have the RUTX11, which is a really interesting router because it's actually approved for use on passenger trains in Europe.
Wait, hold up. A router on a train? That's wild. What's the story there?
Well, it's all about safety and connectivity. Think about all the systems on a modern train. Signaling, communications, entertainment, they all need a reliable network to function. And the RUTX11 is built to handle that. It's got gigabit Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and it's even certified to meet strict safety standards. Plus, it's pretty compact, which is important when you're working with limited space on a train.
That's incredible. It's like a little router with a big job. But here's a question that's been bugging me. Are these routers user-friendly, or do you need an engineering degree to set them up?
That's where things get really interesting. Teltonika routers run on their own custom operating system called RutOS. Now, before you roll your eyes thinking it's going to be complicated, RutOS is actually designed to be super user-friendly. They've got a web interface that's easy to navigate, even for beginners.
Okay, so it's not like trying to decipher ancient hieroglyphics. That's good news for tech-challenged folks like me. But what about the more tech-savvy users?
Yeah.
Is there anything in RutOS for them to tinker with?
Absolutely. For those who like to get under the hood, RutOS is based on OpenWRT Linux. Now, you might be thinking, Linux? That sounds scary, but trust me, it's a good thing. It means that RutOS is incredibly flexible and customizable. You can tweak settings, install packages, even write your own scripts. It's like having a toolbox for your router.
So you're saying I could potentially program my router to do things like, I don't know, automatically turn off the Wi-Fi at bedtime for my kids, or maybe block certain websites I don't want them accessing?
You got it. And that's just scratching the surface. The beauty of RutOS is that it gives you that level of control. You can really fine-tune your network to work exactly the way you want it to.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. But let's be honest, not everyone wants to spend their free time troubleshooting tech. Is there an easier way to manage these routers, especially for folks who aren't tech wizards?
Absolutely. That's where Teltonika's Remote Management System, or RMS for short, comes into play. It's a cloud-based platform that lets you monitor and manage your routers from anywhere in the world.
RMS? That sounds interesting. Tell me more. Is it like having a virtual IT department at your fingertips?
It's a pretty good analogy. With RMS, you can check the status of your devices, configure settings, update firmware, even troubleshoot problems, all from a user-friendly dashboard. It's like having a control center for your entire network.
That sounds super convenient, especially for businesses with multiple locations or devices spread out over a wide area. But what about security? Isn't it risky to manage your routers through the cloud?
That's a valid concern, but Teltonika takes security very seriously. RMS uses encryption and other security measures to protect your data. You can even set up two-factor authentication for an extra layer of protection.
Okay, so it's not like leaving the keys to your network under the welcome mat. They've got some serious security measures in place. But I'm curious, is RMS just for big corporations, or can small businesses and even home users benefit from it?
RMS is actually designed to be scalable so it can be used by anyone, from individuals with a single router to large enterprises with hundreds of devices, and they offer different service levels with varying features and costs so you can choose the plan that best fits your needs and budget.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You can customize it based on your specific requirements. That's great. But before we move on to the next topic, I want to circle back to RutOS for a second. You mentioned that it's open source, which is pretty unique for a company like Teltonika. Can you elaborate on what that means and why it matters?
Sure. Open source means that the source code for RutOS is freely available to the public. Anyone can examine it, modify it, and even distribute their own custom versions. This is a big deal because it fosters transparency and collaboration. Developers from around the world can contribute to the development of RutOS, making it even more powerful and secure.
So it's like a community effort to build the best router operating system possible. That's pretty amazing.
Exactly. It's a testament to Teltonika's commitment to open standards and innovation. They're not afraid to share their knowledge and work with the community to create something truly special.
I'm really impressed with Teltonika's approach to both hardware and software. They're not just building routers, they're building an entire ecosystem that's designed to be powerful, flexible, and user-friendly.
I couldn't agree more. And with the rapid advancements in cellular technology, particularly with the rollout of 5G, the future of Teltonika and cellular routers looks incredibly bright.
Well said. Speaking of the future, what are some emerging trends and applications for cellular routers that you're excited about?
Oh, there are so many. With 5G becoming more widespread, we're going to see a massive increase in speed and capacity, which will open up a whole new world of possibilities. We're talking about everything from smart cities and connected vehicles to remote healthcare and industrial automation.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. It sounds like cellular routers are going to play a key role in shaping the future of how we live, work, and connect with the world around us.
Absolutely. And I think Teltonika is well positioned to be a leader in this exciting new era of connectivity.
We've covered their rugged reliability, their super cool operating system RutOS, and even their cloud-based management platform RMS. But now I'm really curious to see how all this tech actually plays out in the real world.
You're in for a treat because Teltonika routers are being used in some seriously innovative ways. One area that's really taking off is agriculture. Farmers are using Teltonika routers to connect their equipment and sensors, creating what's known as a smart farm.
The smart farm.
Yeah. Imagine a grain silo equipped with sensors that monitor temperature, humidity, and grain levels. All of that data can be sent wirelessly to a central control system via a Teltonika router.
So instead of climbing a giant silo to check on things, farmers can monitor everything from their smartphones. That sounds like a huge time saver and probably a lot safer too. But how does that data actually help farmers make better decisions?
It's all about optimization and efficiency. By having real-time insights into their operations, farmers can make more informed decisions about irrigation, fertilization, and harvesting. They can even detect potential problems early on, like a rise in temperature that could indicate spoilage, and take corrective action.
It's like having a 247 virtual farmhand keeping an eye on everything. That's incredible. It seems like these routers are popping up everywhere. Any other examples that showcase their versatility?
Oh, there are tons. We've seen Teltonika routers used in everything, from connecting vending machines
Oh, wow.
for remote monitoring and inventory management to powering security systems in remote locations. They're even playing a role in the development of smart cities, helping to connect infrastructure and improve services.
It's amazing to see how this technology is being used to innovate and make our lives easier, safer, and more efficient. But before we wrap things up, I want to touch on one more point. We've been focusing on how Teltonika routers connect the physical world, but what about their role in the cloud?
That's a great point. Cloud integration is becoming increasingly important for managing and optimizing networks. And Teltonika routers are no exception. Their routers can seamlessly integrate with cloud platforms like Azure IoT Hub and AWS IoT Greengrass, allowing businesses to collect, analyze, and act upon data in real time.
So it's not just about connecting devices. It's about creating a connected ecosystem where data flows freely and insights can be extracted to improve decision-making. It sounds like Teltonika is at the forefront of this technological revolution.
I couldn't agree more. They're continuously pushing the boundaries of what's possible with cellular connectivity. And with the rollout of 5G, we're only going to see even more innovation and disruption in the years to come.
Well, folks, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dives into the world of Teltonika cellular routers. We hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have. From their rugged hardware and versatile operating system, to their cloud integration and innovative applications, Teltonika is truly changing the game when it comes to connectivity.
And remember, whether you're a business owner looking for a reliable way to connect your operations, or an individual who wants to stay connected in the most remote locations, Teltonika has a router that's right for you.
Thanks for joining us on Tech Tuesdays. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into the world of cutting-edge technology. Until then, stay connected.